Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Zen Master Sebastian Rizzon, and I'm the founder of the Zen Art Center and the Mind Light Way School of Zen. And I lead these guided meditations on the first Thursday of every month. I also hold a Dharma talk and group meditation on the third Thursday of every month from 7 to 8 p.m. You can also find them streamed live or anytime after on the Zen Art Center YouTube channel. So it's November, which means Thanksgiving and the end of the year are approaching. So it seemed like it would be a good time to focus our meditation on giving thanks and setting our intentions for the upcoming year. So we're going to start tonight with a few meditation techniques to help us clear our mind, and then we'll turn our attention to giving thanks, giving forgiveness, and planting the seeds in our mind for the things that we want to cultivate in our lives. For these meditations, we'll be focusing on different mantras. Mantra is the focal point of meditation. The word mantra literally means a tool to liberate your mind. And in these meditations, we'll use our mantra to help free our minds from the usual stream of consciousness, which is dividing our attention, the thoughts, the perceptions, the feelings that pop up. We'll use different mantras to focus our mind with intention and ultimately return our mind to the stillness and clarity where our intentions can blossom. For the first two meditations, the mantra we'll be using is our breath. So with that said, we're just going to move right into practicing meditation. When we sit for all of these meditations, you can sit with your legs crossed. Just try to keep your neck and back straight. If your eyes were open, they'd be at a 45-degree angle, but for most of these, we'll have our eyes closed. You want your hands, right hand, left hand, touching your thumbs, centered in your lap. If you get uncomfortable, feel free to stand up and stretch out. Just be mindful of the people meditating around you. If you need to adapt any of these techniques for your own comfort, feel free. Don't be too attached to the form of the meditation. It's more about the mind state and clearing your mind. With that, let's just get started with a breathing technique that can help us prepare our body for meditation. So we're going to start by breathing a little bit slower and a little bit deeper than you usually do. Bring your attention to the center of your chest and visualize your heart in the center of your chest as you breathe. As you listen to my voice, I want you to keep slowing down and breathing a little bit deeper. Feel your breath coming in through your nose and mouth and collecting all of the energy from your brain and moving it from your head and into your chest. Imagine now that you're breathing with your heart. The purpose of this practice is to align our mind, heart, and body. You can also place your hand on your heart and close your eyes if you'd like. Keep breathing slow, deep, and steady. Nadia, could you check the door? This breathing technique sends a message to your body to relax and release anxiety and stress. If you practice this technique consistently, you can learn to reset yourself in any moment by reminding yourself to take some slow and deep breaths. Now let's just practice this together, breathing slow and steady. For our next meditation, we'll continue to use our breath to help us focus and clear out our mind. In this practice, we'll simply sit still and quietly count each breath as it comes and goes. Just breathe naturally. On each breath, count silently to yourself. Try to stay focused on your breath. If you lose count, it's a sign that your attention has wandered. The moment you realize this, simply start over without any judgment. That moment of awareness is part of the practice. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to strengthen your ability to notice when you're distracted and refocus your mind. Let's practice this together now for a few moments. Count each breath. If you lose count, just return to one. I'm going to hit the Moktak to start and finish this. In this next meditation, we'll be using sound as our mantra. We'll focus our attention on the resonance of this singing bowl. Let the sound fill your awareness completely. Allow the waves of vibration to pass through you and wash away your thoughts. If a thought arises, let it pass and return your attention to the sound. Just listen, focus on the sound, and let it dissolve the boundaries between you and the world around you. Now we're going to go through a series of meditations which can help you set the intentions for your life. The first is a meditation on gratitude. We're just going to take a few moments to remind ourselves of the reasons we have to be grateful and give thanks in our mind. For example, I always like to remind myself to be thankful for my health, for the health of my family, my friends, and my teachers. The things you are thankful for could be very general or very specific. That's up to you. No matter how bad things get, I always like to remind myself that I still have plenty to be thankful for. This helps me keep a positive perspective and outlook in every circumstance. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a few minutes and think about the things in your life that you're thankful and grateful for. If you can't think of a long list of things, that's okay. You can just repeat a few things in your mind that you're thankful for as if they are your mantra. In the next meditation, I want to focus on forgiveness. This can be a really difficult one. It's not always easy to forgive, but it can be an essential part of healing ourselves. Dwelling on your own grudges and trauma will likely only increase your own suffering. Forgiveness is a way to let go. Here, we're going to take a moment to forgive ourselves and the others in our lives. This is a chance to acknowledge our mistakes and the actions of others that have caused us harm, and express our forgiveness. This is not to make an excuse for the harm that's been done or the person that's caused the harm. It's more to acknowledge that harboring feelings of anger, hatred, and resentment can prevent us from being compassionate, and this can stunt our own personal growth. This doesn't mean that you have to welcome someone that's harmed you back into your life, or that you should continue to expose yourself to more harm in any way. It's more about empowering yourself to move on from that burden of the harm that's been done. Let's take a few minutes to forgive ourselves and the others for the mistakes that were made and the harm that's been done. Let's also set an intention not to harm others and cause any unnecessary suffering. Now, let's close our eyes for a few minutes and focus on forgiveness. Now we're going to focus on our prayers. which are merely the seeds of intention that we plant in our mind. You can pray for yourself, the world, and the universe. I usually pray for good health, happiness, and success in whatever I'm doing. I also pray for the good health and fortune of my family, friends, teachers, and enlightenment for everyone in the world. You can pray for a friend or a family member that's sick. You can pray for peace and harmony in the world. You can pray for anything you want. When you pray, the air collects your prayers and brings them out into the world where they gather and create potential. The more you pray, the more potential you create in your mind. So let's take a few minutes and focus on our prayers. So these techniques are things that you can use anytime on your own. The gratitude and prayer meditations are something I do every single day before I bow and chant. Forgiveness is something I focus on whenever I feel anger or resentment. Today we've planted the seeds to affirm ourselves, our gratitude, our ability to forgive, and our prayers. You can use these techniques to set intentions in your life and create clarity on your intentions. If you practice them regularly, they become ingrained in your nature. For the final meditation, we'll use a traditional mantra meditation by simply repeating a word or phrase quietly within our mind. This will help us clear our mind of the extraneous thoughts that can grow like weeds and allow the seeds that we want to nurture and grow become the beautiful flowers that we imagine. You can use anything as you want as a mantra during meditation, but if you don't have a mantra that you want to use, I usually suggest using the mantra of Kwanseum Bosal. Kwanseum Bosal is the Bodhisattva of love and compassion in Korean Zen. Bodhisattva is a being that's dedicated to helping others, and Kwanseum Bosal is said to have thousands of eyes and hands and be able to see the suffering of everyone and help those who call out her name. Using this mantra will help you clear your mind and nourish the seeds that you planted today. So everything you do and everything you think starts in your mind. The mind is like a garden where thoughts grow and sometimes blossom into reality. If you don't tend to the garden and select the seeds that you want to plant, your garden will become filled with weeds. Everything you do and everything you think throughout the day fills your mind with seeds. So you must constantly get rid of the weeds that you don't want so that you can cultivate what you do want. If you learn to focus your mind in meditation, it clears the weeds from the mind, so the light of your mind can reach those seeds. If you keep your mind focused on what you're doing in every moment, that's the highest form of meditation. And there's no way for any weeds to take root. If you want to keep your mind clear all the time, you need to learn how to turn everything you do into a meditation. You have to learn how to focus on your actions like they're your mantra. This means you have to be completely focused on whatever you're doing and not let your mind wander. That's what I call moving meditation. Anything you do can be a meditation. You can practice this while doing things you love, like yoga or painting, writing, playing music, playing a sport, or riding a bike. Eventually, with practice, you can learn to meditate while driving, having a conversation, or doing your dishes. Try to incorporate some of these practices that we discussed today into your life. Just a little bit every day. You'll likely find that when your mind is clear, you make better decisions. And you'll have less stress, anxiety, and regret in your life. Eventually, you'll notice that the seeds that you've planted begin to bloom all around you. I hope that the seeds that you planted today blossom and yield the fruit of your intentions. And I wish you all a bountiful harvest, a happy Thanksgiving, and a happy holiday season that's coming up. That concludes the meditation for today, and I'm happy to do any questions from the group. I always do that at the end of all of my meditations and Dharma talks. So if you have any questions about anything that's on your mind, Zen, meditation, the mind itself, I'm happy to entertain any questions you have, so as well as with the live chat online. But if you want to just take a moment and reflect in silence, and if anybody has a question, I'm happy to answer it. Any questions? No questions today? Big opportunity. Nobody's asking. I love to answer questions, so don't hold back if anything's on your mind.
Do you find that some, like, you mentioned, like, making every action meditative by being entirely present, like, for that thing? Do you find that some hobbies or activities or just actions are harder to do that than others?
Yeah, I do. I think especially when you're first getting started, treating your actions as a meditation. I think for me, the more mundane and repetitive the tasks are that I've done many times, then in those are the times where my mind would tend to wander. Like doing the dishes or something like that, or driving sometimes, it's and I find that activities that are a little more engaging and maybe force you to focus on a skill or sometimes the ones that get your adrenaline going. Those kind of activities tend to push you into like a zone of focus, or a flow state, if you will. And I think that is kind of what I'm pointing to, that feeling, if you've ever experienced, that's what I'm pointing to when I'm saying you're completely focused in that moment. You're not, if you're riding your bike in traffic, you're generally not thinking about, what your parents are doing or what your friends are doing, because it would cause a problem with getting through what you're doing. But I think you can learn to treat everything you do with that same kind of intention, with that same kind of focus. I'm not saying you need to ride your bike in traffic. That's not necessarily the best way to learn, but I'm just trying to give an example of some time in your life. I think playing music, I hear a lot of that with musicians when they're playing music. It comes more from like a feel, and they're generally not thinking. They're focusing on what they're playing and staying in the moment so that they can play with the other people and respond to what they're doing. I felt it multiple times before I called it a meditation. I felt it playing sports. So, but I think once you've kind of understand what I'm talking about through those activities, and I feel it when I make art too, when I'm writing sometimes, or when I'm drawing. I think those are helpful ways to learn. I learned personally that the most helpful way I learned was through the martial arts practice my Zen teacher taught me. And that was mostly like choreographed movement, but it wasn't dangerous or anything, but it required your attention to be able to remember the moves, remember what's coming next, and kind of you had to have your body programmed and your mind locked into what you're doing. So I think those types of activities can be very helpful. But yeah, I do think it's a little bit more difficult to focus, if you're like cleaning your room or like sweeping the floor or something. But in the temple that I lived in, that was a big part of the practice, was doing those kind of things and keeping your mind clear. And my teacher would evaluate if you did a good job, if you missed spots, and he would say, "Oh, where was your mind when you were doing that? You missed a spot on the floor," So, and I think you can kind of test yourself in that way and see if you're paying attention. And if you make a game of it, it can help you get better at it. You don't have to necessarily be hard on yourself. Be compassionate. Your mind is going to drift and wander, but it's just about recognizing when that's happening and pulling it back into the moment. And sometimes it's not to say you don't think ever, but it's just like having an intention about what you're thinking about and not letting your mind just drift and wander out of the moment. I think that kind of mind wandering can cause issues with whatever you're doing in the present moment. So like those are the times usually we'll drop a dish if you're doing the dishes or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question. Great question. Appreciate it. Any more questions? I'm glad I got one. That was a good one. Well, if that's all, we'll call it a night here. I'm back here in a couple weeks for the Dharma talk. I give a little bit, it's more of a lesson about Zen and Zen practice, and just mostly just the mantra meditation. It's a little more of the traditional Zen style. So if you're interested in learning more about Zen, you can come check that out. I'm going to make a few announcements before everybody heads out. We are in the middle of our year-end fundraising drive, so we try to make all of these classes, and we have writing groups and free workshops occasionally. We try to make all of this free and open to the general public, but we do rely solely on donations, so we're trying to raise money to cover our expenses for next year. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so it's all can be tax exempt to the amount that the tax law allows. There's information on how you can make a donation on the desk near the door when you leave, and in the description on the YouTube channel. Anything you can do to help us is greatly appreciated. And we also host a writing group once we'll be doing it twice a month. This month we only have it once due to some conflicts in the schedule, but that's this Sunday, 3:30 to 5. And then the next Sunday we have the art group, which these are moving meditations. It's using the art forms to focus our mind. That one's next Sunday, the following this Sunday, 3:30 to 5. Yeah, we also have open studios coming up. So if you're interested in the arts and the local art scene, this whole building will have artists opened up, and then there's another art studio down at the end of the block, Saturday and Sunday, November 22nd and 23rd from 12 to 5. You can come check out the artists, meet the artists, check out their art. Some of them will be doing demonstrations. So it's a great opportunity if you want to immerse yourself in the art community here. And if you're interested in deepening your Zen practice through sitting and moving meditation, and art and community engagement and different forms of moving meditation, you can check out the Path to Mastery, which is on our website, mindlightway.org. And if you have any questions about any of this, you can just talk to me directly anytime or drop us an email. And you don't need any prior experiences for any of these programs. I appreciate you all joining us tonight, and if you're here in person, you're welcome to hang out and chat for a while and have a more casual conversation. Thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you all coming out.